The highest power is to rule over your own passions. Marcus Aurelius. Before we begin, here's a small ritual. Write in the comments one word that accurately describes your current state. Sign it, and let's get started. The world is drowning in excess. Sexuality, once a sacred force of intimacy and creation, has been turned into a cheap commodity. It screams from every screen, every song, every image designed to hook your attention and keep you restless. What was once private has become public. What was once meaningful has been stripped of weight. Society worships desire but has forgotten discipline, glorifies indulgence but has lost direction. Morality fades, respect disintegrates, and the very concept of restraint is ridiculed. The more people chase pleasure, the emptier they become. You feel it inside yourself, that sense of being consumed by urges, controlled by impulses that promise relief, yet leave only emptiness behind. Shame follows gratification, restlessness follows shame, and the cycle repeats endlessly. It is not weakness to admit this. It is the common prison of modern existence. You are not alone in this endless loop, though it often feels like silence surrounds your struggle. Behind the masks of confidence and freedom, many live with the same exhaustion, the same hidden disgust at how little control they have over themselves. The truth is simple and brutal. A person enslaved by desire cannot build lasting power. You may master your career, your relationships, even your public image, but if you are mastered by your own body, then you remain a prisoner. The instinct rules you, not the other way around. An instinct does not care about your dreams, your goals, or the higher life you long for. It only wants release now and again, endlessly. This is how men and women alike are drained of life. This is why humanity, with all its intelligence, still collapses into mediocrity. Celibacy, or conscious sexual restraint, is the forgotten key, not as denial, not as repression, but as a deliberate act of power. To choose not to spill your energy is to reclaim your sovereignty from the instinct that demands to be served. Sexual abstinence is not about hating desire. It is about transforming it into something greater. It is about refusing to waste the fire that could build an empire, write a masterpiece, or change a destiny. It is about realizing that the most primal drive, when mastered, becomes the fuel of vision, courage, and clarity. This is not easy. It sounds extreme in a culture obsessed with gratification, but there is no greatness without sacrifice. History shows again and again that those who achieved the extraordinary were not slaves to appetite. They knew the cost of discipline, and they embraced it. When you resist the pull of indulgence, you awaken something inside you that has been sleeping for too long. A force that is not just sexual, but spiritual. A force that can either consume you or raise you to heights you never thought possible. By the end of this journey, you will see why your pain, your restlessness, your inner hunger are not curses, but gifts. You will see how the very urges that drag you down can be turned into the energy that lifts you up. And you will understand why most people remain trapped while a few rise above. If these words resonate with you, if you feel the weight of this truth in your own life, subscribe to this channel. That way, more people who are ready to hear what has been hidden from them will finally find it. And if you want to go deeper every day, join the community in Telegram, where those who are ready for honesty walk this path together. Celibacy is often misunderstood. People hear the word and think only of monks, priests, or some religious vow disconnected from ordinary life. But celibacy in its true form is not about rejecting life. It is about channeling life. It means choosing to conserve and direct the most powerful energy you possess instead of wasting it in endless cycles of release. Sexual restraint is the conscious refusal to let instinct control the direction of your days. It is not suppression, because suppression means denial. Suppression means lying to yourself and pretending you do not feel desire. True celibacy does not deny the fire. It holds the fire in the palm of the hand and decides where to burn. At its core, sexual abstinence is the art of mastering one of the deepest biological drives. This includes the practice of semen retention for men, where the physical seed is preserved rather than expelled for temporary relief. The ancient traditions knew what modern culture has forgotten, that this seed is not just fluid, but concentrated life energy. To waste it without thought is to weaken the body, the mind, and the spirit. To hold it is to create an internal pressure that, when guided, becomes focus, discipline, and raw vitality. For women, restraint works through the same principle of refusing to be enslaved by compulsive gratification and instead cultivating presence, clarity, and a magnetic force of self-control. Restraint is not punishment, it is choice. It is the choice to no longer allow the body to dictate the direction of your existence. Most people today cannot imagine such a thing. They are convinced that desire must be obeyed, that it is natural and therefore unstoppable. They mistake the normal for the inevitable. But the truth is that instinct only rules when it is never questioned. Once you see that you can stand between the urge and the act, you begin to discover a strength you never suspected was there. That moment of pause, that breath between impulse and surrender, is where freedom begins. There are many illusions around this subject. Society teaches that constant release is healthy, that more is always better, that repression is dangerous. But what they call health is often addiction. What they call liberation is dependence on the next stimulus. The body adapts to whatever rhythm you impose on it. If you flood it daily with gratification, it becomes a slave to that pattern. If you teach it discipline, it becomes strong enough to serve a higher will. The illusion is that you are fragile, that you will collapse without release. The reality is that discipline reveals how much power you are giving away for nothing. Celibacy does not mean that desire disappears. The urge remains, and it will remain as long as you are alive. The difference is in the ownership. When you restrain, the desire transforms. The energy rises instead of leaking away. What once controlled you now begins to serve you. You do not become cold or lifeless. On the contrary, you become more alive, more awake, more present. The same fire that once dragged you down becomes a force that drives you upward. The same energy that once scattered your focus now sharpens your mind into something unbreakable. This is why celibacy is not a relic of religion, but a practice of transformation. It is a decision to take back what was always yours. It is the beginning of walking as a master instead of a slave. Most people will never attempt it. They will laugh, dismiss, or attack the idea because it threatens the comfort of their chains. But you are here, listening, because some part of you already knows that your energy is too precious to waste. Some part of you knows that you are not meant to be ruled by your instincts, but to rule them. To understand why restraint is so difficult, you must see how instinct operates beneath your awareness. The subconscious mind is a machine older than reason. It is built from repetition, memory, and survival. Long before you think, it has already acted. Desire is triggered by images, smells, memories, fantasies, and the body reacts automatically. You do not decide to want. Wanting appears in you, uninvited, and demands satisfaction. This is why most people cannot control themselves. They believe they are free, but in truth, they are carried by ancient programs. The subconscious does not ask if you are ready, if it is wise, or if it serves your higher goals. It only commands, and if you never resist, it becomes your master. The conscious mind, however, has another capacity. It can observe the impulse instead of obeying it. It can create space between the fire and the action. That space is small at first, almost invisible, but within it lies everything. It is the space where discipline is born. When you feel the wave of desire rise and you choose not to collapse into it, something powerful happens. The energy does not vanish. It moves upward, like pressure contained in a vessel. It sharpens your senses. It fuels thought. It strengthens your will. The same energy that could be lost in seconds becomes the force that builds character over years. Physiologically, this is not imagination. The body responds to restraint. Hormonal balance shifts. Levels of energy rise. The nervous system adapts to higher tension. At first, the body rebels, demanding release, but over time, it adjusts, becoming stronger. Ancient traditions spoke of this as transmutation, the transformation of sexual energy into spiritual energy. Modern psychology would describe it as the redirection of instinct into creativity, focus, and drive. Different languages, the same truth. The instinct is raw power. Left uncontrolled, it drags you downward. Disciplined, it becomes the very engine of greatness. This is why 95% of people never escape the cycle. They are convinced their impulses are irresistible. They let the subconscious lead them by the throat. They never realize that the mind can step in and take command. It is not easy. The body fights back, the mind screams with temptation, but every time you hold the line, you grow stronger. Every time you stand your ground against instinct, you train the nervous system to obey you rather than enslave you. This is the essence of transformation, from animal to ruler, from victim of desire to commander of energy. The paradox is that freedom is not found in indulgence, but in restraint. When you obey every urge, you are not free, you are chained. When you can say no and redirect the force, then you are free. You are not killing your instincts, you are putting them in their rightful place. The mind becomes the master, the body becomes the servant. The fire remains, but now it burns where you choose, not where it explodes uncontrolled. This is the beginning of sovereignty. This is the threshold where a person stops being consumed and starts creating. The benefits of restraint are undeniable, but they reveal themselves only when practiced with clarity and purpose. When you choose celibacy, not out of fear or shame, but as a conscious decision, the first transformation you notice is energy. The body stops leaking vitality through constant release, and what was once lost begins to build within you. This energy does not stay silent. It makes you more alert, more focused, more alive. You find yourself with stamina to work longer, concentrate deeper, and endure challenges that once crushed you. The same nervous tension that people fear becomes the steel of your resilience. Along with energy comes clarity of thought. Sexual indulgence clouds the mind, pulling it back into cycles of craving and regret. Restraint breaks this loop, freeing your awareness to look beyond the next distraction. Ideas come faster, focus lasts longer, and your mind begins to function like a sharp blade instead of a dull instrument. Discipline in the body creates discipline in the mind. You begin to experience what ancient teachers described as heightened perception, a sense that you are no longer scattered but centered. This clarity naturally creates respect for yourself and from others, because power can be felt even without words. There are, however, real challenges. When you restrain, tension builds. Irritability can rise, sleep can feel restless, and intrusive fantasies may intensify. Many give up at this stage, believing the discomfort means something is wrong. In truth, this is the training ground. The pressure is proof that energy is real. The task is not to suppress it, but to guide it. Physical exercise, breathwork, creative work, and deliberate focus are the tools that turn the pressure into momentum. Without direction, the energy backfires. With direction, it becomes unstoppable. This is why celibacy without purpose is dangerous. To abstain for no reason creates frustration. The body is filled with fuel, but the driver refuses to move. That is not mastery, it is stagnation. The true path is to connect restraint with vision. If your goal is financial independence, let the energy push you through the grind. If your goal is building a relationship of depth, let the energy sharpen your presence. If your dream is to create something the world has never seen, let the energy feed your discipline. The fire must have a place to burn, or it will burn you from within. The greatest paradox of celibacy is this: it is not about sex, it is about power. When you hold your energy, you realize how much of your life was ruled by unconscious patterns. You begin to understand that restraint is not emptiness, but fullness. The energy does not vanish, it transforms, and in that transformation, you see yourself not as an animal chasing impulses, but as a sovereign being directing destiny. That is why restraint is feared, mocked, and misunderstood. Because if widely practiced, it would create individuals who are no longer easy to control. Restraint gains its true power only when tied to a clear and concrete goal. Without a goal, the energy has no channel, and without a channel, it becomes chaos. The first step is choosing one central purpose that defines your path. It may be financial independence, building a lasting relationship, creating an artistic legacy, breaking a physical limit, or achieving mastery in your field. What matters is not the type of goal, but the clarity with which it is held. Restraint builds pressure, and that pressure must be directed like water through a dam into turbines. Otherwise, it will flood everything and return you to the same cycle you tried to escape. Each impulse, each wave of desire becomes a test of alignment. In the old life, the instinct commanded you, and the act of release followed automatically. In the new life, the instinct still rises, but you have a choice. In that moment, you can translate the raw surge of energy into a direct action toward your goal. If your focus is wealth, you work. If your focus is health, you train. If your focus is mastery, you study or create. The body screams for release, but you answer with movement in the direction of your vision. With time, this loop becomes automatic, and the very signal that once enslaved you becomes the fuel that drives you forward. This is why restraint creates momentum unlike any other practice. Most people rely on motivation, which comes and goes. But when you harness your most primal energy, you gain a force that does not depend on mood. Every temptation becomes an opportunity. Every urge becomes a spark to push the wheel of progress. This is not about denying your humanity, but about using it fully. The energy is not wasted in shadows, but brought into the light of achievement. You become a person with gravity, someone whose presence reflects direction instead of distraction. The world does not celebrate this path because it is rare. Most are consumed by the same cycles and prefer to believe there is no alternative. But when you tie restraint to a goal, you step outside of mediocrity. You begin to see how much time and strength were lost to indulgence, and how much can be built when nothing is wasted. You are no longer the servant of your instincts. You are their commander. This is the difference between drifting aimlessly and carving a path that others cannot ignore. The practice of conscious restraint must move beyond theory into a daily protocol. At the most basic level, mastery begins with awareness of the body. Every urge has a signal: tension in the muscles, quickening of breath, images rising uninvited in the mind. Instead of collapsing into the pattern, you name it, you pause, and you breathe. This simple act of recognition creates a gap wide enough to redirect the force. The moment you acknowledge the wave without surrendering to it, you weaken the automatic control of the subconscious. Awareness becomes the first weapon, and the longer you use it, the sharper it becomes. The second level is control of attention. Desire feeds on imagination. The longer you stare at an image, the stronger it becomes. The more you rehearse the fantasy, the more it enslaves you. Training attention means reclaiming that energy. When the image appears, you do not fight it, you move it. You choose where your mind rests. You focus on your task, your breath, your body, your goal. This redirection transforms the inner storm into momentum. It is not about denying the image. It is about refusing to feed it. In time, the brain learns a new rhythm. Energy flows into creation instead of escape. The third level is the environment. No one wins a battle surrounded by constant triggers. Discipline requires structure, and structure means preparing your world to serve your decision. Remove the easy poisons, the screens, the content, the situations that drag you back into old cycles. Replace them with rituals of strength, movement, work, study, connection with people who respect your discipline. Every choice in your environment either strengthens or weakens your practice. To pretend otherwise is self-deception. The environment is silent but powerful, and mastery comes when you design it consciously. Finally, there is the connection to meaning. Without meaning, restraint becomes hollow and collapses under pressure. With meaning, it becomes unbreakable. You must remind yourself daily why you are holding this fire. Is it to build independence? To create something lasting? To rise above mediocrity? To face your shadow without escape? Whatever your answer, it must be present in your mind. Restraint is not about being cold or lifeless. It is about burning with a purpose. Every day that you hold your energy, you are proving to yourself that your mind rules your body, that your will is greater than your impulse, and that you are no longer an animal wandering blindly, but a being shaping destiny. Restraint becomes real only when you turn it into action. And that begins today. The first step is to define a single clear goal. Do not hold energy for nothing. Write down the one direction that matters most to you now, and let it become the container for your fire. Without a purpose, you will overflow and collapse. With purpose, every urge becomes fuel for progress. The second step is to clear your path of obvious traps. Remove the content, the habits, and the spaces that pull you into old patterns, and prepare two alternatives for every trigger. Replace destruction with construction. The third step is to anchor your body. When the wave comes, breathe slowly, move, exercise, or act directly on your goal. Do not fight the energy, redirect it. The fourth step is to record your journey. Write each day in simple words. Impulses, victories, failures. Do not punish yourself. Honesty is the tool that builds resilience. The fifth step is to connect with others who walk this path. Isolation feeds collapse, but community strengthens resolve. Share, support, and learn from those who understand that restraint is not weakness, but power. These are not theories, they are doors. Walk through them, and you will feel the difference. At first, it will be difficult, but difficulty is the proof that change is happening. The world will not encourage you because a society built on addiction fears disciplined individuals. But you are no longer part of that system of weakness. You are training yourself to rule your instincts instead of being ruled by them. That is the foundation of true freedom. If these words strike something inside you, subscribe to this channel. The more you do, the more people will be able to hear the truths that have been hidden. If you feel this path is yours, join the Telegram community where daily practices and real conversations keep the fire alive. And if you want to support this work, become a sponsor of the channel to gain access to unique materials reserved only for those ready to go deeper. Finally, seal this moment in the comments. Write, "I no longer run from pain," or write, "My darkness is my strength," or write, "I remove the masks," or write, "I accept my shadow." Let these words be a promise to yourself and a signal to others that you are ready to stand in truth. This is not the end. It is only the beginning.